Welcome back to the Strawberry Corner NUFC podcast. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. Joelinton's first of the season, 3 points to us. Ha ha, Ben Brereton, you little slug. Today, we've got myself, Stuart, and generational talent Olly Scholes. Few people have asked us about the intro music, so just a note on that. It's by The Layers, at Music Layers on Twitter. Give them a follow. Olly, first day of the season, you and the band there with your father. How was it? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I loved it. It was great to be back. The same routine every season. It's to the Collingwood before the match, pint, stroll down to the ground through Exhibition Park. Just really exciting to be back. I loved it.
That's lush, up, mate. Obviously a stressful one. Has Luke had a stressful game like that as yet in his young fellowship?
He has actually, he's a Newcastle fan, isn't he? So he's had thousands. He's, I think the last one before this was West Ham, won it 3-1 down. But it was a stressful game, wasn't it? Stressful afternoon, but we got through it.
A funny one. We'll come to it in a bit. We're missing Dean today. He's having a bit of a night in with a friend from work. They've bought some Prosecco and some tannin injections for them to get stuck into, but he'll be back midweek with us, so that'll be good.
Where's Dean like?
Olly, War Flags display. Obviously, the tribute to Amanda and Murdad. Nice to see, right? Good touch.
Really nice touch, It was. I saw it sort of in the corner. Obviously, they had the main one about the dreams and stuff. Then they're just on point on there. They just get it right all the time. And I think that touch with Amanda and Murdad, could do see what was sort of really nice touch, wasn't it? And it was even nicer that Cheese acknowledged it as well. Football gets a lot of stick and owners get a lot of stick and ownership and the reasons why they've bought clubs and things like that. But I think there was a genuine affection there, wasn't there, between the fans and Amanda Staveley. And I think it was just nice for us to recognise them and what they've done and for her to recognise us as well.
100%. She, like I say, she was made up, wasn't she? It was lovely reading that Insta post. It obviously means a lot to her, but it also means a lot to us, like you say. I feel like, not to go too deep into it, but I feel like she was very important for us at the time. Kind of her nature and how she is as a person was exactly what we needed,
Yeah. And I think, regardless of the reasons why she's bought the club, the reasons why she's left or whatever, everyone's got their own agendas and things like that. But I think deep down, at the end of the day, without her signing the club, without her buying the club or being involved in the buying of the club, we're in a very different position, aren't we? So I think hats off for that, really.
Yeah, and the team's determination yesterday was kind of aligned with her determination to buy the club as well, right? It was, it's one of those where I don't feel like the legacy will be felt for a few years. Kind of gets talked about, but once we kind of get 5-6 years down the line, I feel like she'll be held in high regard within the club, with the supporters for forever, really. You look around the stadium, and this is a bit of a mad one, right? But you look around the stadium and you've got a stand called the John Hall stand. And it's a funny one, right? I've always thought, I bought the club and he did progress us quite a bit, but I'm not that big of a fan of John Hall. I'm not saying let's start the petition to rename that stand at the Staveley stand, but... yeah.
But I think it is officially the Leazes now, isn't it? I think it's changed. It's what it's actually called, the Leazes, like. But it's like you say, he did a lot for the club, didn't he? But I suppose we probably wouldn't be here where we are now if it wasn't for Keegan and John Hall and the work they did. But yeah, Staveley's probably going to be seen as just as important, I think, in the scheme of things, really.
Yeah, 100%. Let's jump into the game, Olly. Bit of an odd game, kind of. On that 28 minutes, you had consumed 28 minutes of football. Newcastle hadn't started great. I think we had a good couple of first minutes where we looked like we were going to press them to death, but Southampton were a good team. They're good at passing the ball around, and were quite easily passing through us. I think sometimes, though, just to get your comments on this, it's okay to have kind of a struggle in a game like that. Overcoming that initial that initial issues that we had with the sending off, solving some problems on the pitch and coming through it as a team. can sometimes provide a better launch into the season than winning 5-1. It shows development.
Definitely, yeah, I think that's the case. But I also think something like that 28th minute red card was something that the game needed as well itself. I think we'll take a lot of positives from that. I think that's a game that last season we probably would have drawn. We probably would have thrown it away. So it's nice to see that we're a bit more resilient this season. We worked for it, we earned it, we deserved it. But I think that 28th minute red card was sort of the catalyst for the performance, really, wasn't it? I think it was quite a flat performance. And I think that sort of lifted the crowd, and that's what it needed. So I think, obviously it's not ideal, is it? We're probably going to lose Schär for 3 games now, but it sort of lifted the crowd and it gave us that momentum, really.
Yeah, and I think back to last season, and the issues weren't with goal scoring, right? We were, scoring, loads of goals, but the issue was our defence. We were conceding lots of goals. So many goals. The defensive display, though, yesterday was phenomenal, wasn't it? They were organised, they were repelling everything, to the point where Southampton looked like they could have played for another hour, and I don't think they would have scored. A couple of hairy moments, Hall, clearance off the line, and there was a good Pope save in there against Armstrong, but overall, as a defensive unit, unbelievable. So a lot of pitch covered there by a few players, yeah?
Definitely, it was. I mean, defensively, we were absolutely outstanding. We'll talk about individuals shortly, won't we? But just absolutely outstanding as a unit, really. And so that was really encouraging, I suppose, after, like you say, last season was about conceding goals and trying to stop that, wasn't it? So that was really encouraging start of the season defensively.
Definitely. And you take the positives out of this game. It's kind of the defensive display, the team and work ethic that the team showed, and being able to solve problems on the pitch. When you go down to 10 men, everyone assumes that it's on the manager. The manager then kind of implements the structure and some tactics there, and that is the case. But the team's ultimately got to carry those out on the pitch, and I feel like they did that brilliantly. So obviously we lost Schär on 28 minutes, 65 minutes down to 10 men, mates. The goal came shortly after, so some good work down the right. Obviously ended up with the Southampton keeper who tried to play out from the back. Isak read it, cut in, and I just want to kind of, obviously Joelinton's touch and finish was fantastic, but the pass from Isak was pinpoint, wasn't it?
It was threading through the eye of a needle, wasn't it? Really, it was a really good pass.
Aye, and Joelinton, you think back to kind of the centre forward we used to have. I wouldn't say that would have been a formality, that being a goal, but his touch was excellent, and the finish even better in the bottom corner. Yeah, with some pressure on, there was some 2-3 Southampton players around him.
Really good, just dead cool, dead calm, lovely touch, got it out of his feet, adjusted and hit it. It was great.
Yeah, mate. Let's jump into the sending off. So, obviously 28 minutes, bit of a poor tackle on Bruno around about the centre circle. And the ball breaks loose. The referee's already blew his whistle. Schär's, going to retrieve the ball. Ben Brereton's then shoved him in the back. Then the bit of a coming together. Not going to call it a headbutt, mate, are you?
No, absolutely not. I mean, that happens 2 or 3 times a week in the Premier League, doesn't it? Like, it's just coming together, 2 people sort of squaring up and a bit of posturing, really, isn't it? And that's it. No more than that. So if Díaz stays on his feet and sort of heads him back a little bit, then you're talking about either a talking to or a yellow card at the most for both of them. But no, absolutely not a red card for me. Not a headbutt at all, is it?
I think that's it. I agree about the both being given a yellow card. It's just not helped by the way that he's reacted, isn't it? That's what's forced the red card. Bit disappointing that VAR haven't then pulled that up, for simulation, because it's obvious. It's not like, he's been headbutted, he's down on the floor suffering with a head injury. It's a funny one, that. I can't really understand the VAR decision behind that.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't mind so much we can talk about the referee in a second anyway, because, but I don't mind the fact that the referee's been conned by that. But it's when VAR looks at it and then still backs the referee. But I think maybe if that was 10, 12, 15 games into the season, you might see a different reaction from VAR. But I think for now, they're really backing the referees, aren't they? They sort of start the season by backing the referees a lot, don't and then it sort of it develops a little bit over the course of the season. But I think, you know, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking, really, from VAR, in my opinion.
Yeah. I kind of want to defend Schär a little bit. Yeah, you know, when you've seen the reaction and people are, you know, he's stupid, he's getting himself in that situation. Given that this, and this is understandable, right? Given the referee a decision to make, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, Schär's a competitor. You know, you want that competitive streak in there. He isn't expecting Brereton to go down like that. In fact, if you watch the footage, Brereton also goes forward with his head. It's just two lads, competitive, going for the ball and having a little bit of a disagreement, but obviously Brereton falls to the floor like a sack of potatoes. You mentioned the referee, mate. Very, very poor game from Craig Pawson, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. I know Dean would love to be here today slagging the referee off. Like he was going to do a full show of referee criticism. So I'll do a little bit for him. You know, I don't like digging out referees. I do it a lot, but I don't really like it. I always think there isn't a game without a referee, is there? But sometimes there's just a referee who I don't want to, like, you know, it's not cheating. It's just, it's so one-sided, the referee in this game. I can't get my head around how many times he let them off with yellow cards. I mean, how, was it Smallbone? How he's ended up without a yellow card in that game is beyond me. You know, there was a lot of fouls early on. There was 2 on Gordon, which you could say was sort of maybe dangerous play that should have resulted in yellow cards. There was an example where somebody I think it was Murphy who got away from someone. He was brought down. You know, it's a standard yellow card. The referee was really reluctant to book any of theirs, and he seemed to sort of thrive on getting his yellow card out for us. Every fan in the country is probably saying the same thing as I'm saying, really, about the team. There's a bias, or the referee was terrible, or whatever. But it just felt really strange yesterday. It was far too much in terms of giving quick free kicks against us. He was too quick to give free kicks against us, but not quick enough to give them against Southampton. Yeah. And I think if he took control of the game a little bit more early on, then maybe that Schär red card doesn't happen.
I think you've hit on something there about the control of the game, and I think that's where the issue lies with the referee. For example, referees can have poor games. That's fine. You know, referees can make mistakes. For me, it's when it's clear that a referee doesn't play the game, or isn't a footballer himself, or doesn't understand, you know, the intricacy of how the game plays out. The moment where Harwood Bellis, he kind of blocks Gordon off with kind of a face-off with his hand in the face. I think that's the one you were mentioning on the halfway line. Yeah. Like, that's a yellow card. And then not to give it, he subsequently gets a yellow card in the second half as well, so it should have been a red. He should have been off the pitch as well. But then to subsequently give Hall a booking for the same thing, really, just blocking off the Southampton player, albeit, you know, Hall was a bit naive doing that so early on. But it's still, you know, if that's a yellow, that's a yellow. That's what I don't understand. It's kind of the referee not understanding the game there.
There's no consistency, is there? It's not recognising what's in front of him, really.
100%. That's enough for the referee. Let's leave it there, mate. Let's talk about the performance generally. I know we touched on it prior to the sending off. Just lacked a bit of rhythm. A few players looked like they were, you know, lacking a bit of sharpness. I think Bruno emptied himself yesterday, but he looked, you know, his touch, his movement, a little bit off it, taking a little bit of time on the ball, which is understandable. Missed a bit of pre-season, but yeah, a few players just off the pace a little bit, Ollie.
Yeah, there was. I thought from the start as well, Anthony Gordon was way off the pace. He didn't look into the game at all. I am a little bit worried about him. I'm a little bit concerned with how things are going with Gordon. I think, you know, when you think about it, he came at the end of the season 2 seasons ago. Well, he came in January and played like the end of the season, didn't he? And then he went straight off to England in under 21s, won the Euros, and then he's come back and he's had a great pre-season and a great season last season. And then again, he's gone to the Euros, and I think it's been a difficult summer for him because it's not one where he can switch off and chill. He's actually been sort of called up to the England squad, hasn't he? But then he hasn't been used out there, so I think it's quite a frustrating time for him having to do that. Excuse me. And then on top of that, he's sort of almost been sold by us to Liverpool. And I imagine he's come back really quite jaded, quite tired, quite exhausted, quite angry and frustrated, probably with Southgate, possibly with Newcastle. And I think he just needs a little bit of time, a little bit of Eddie love. But I am a bit worried about him at the minute.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I kind of was half expecting Barnes to play, to be honest, with the fact we had talked about in the previous part about Tino being a shoe-in at right back. I did hear a few comments on a few other platforms saying that Trippier is certain to come back in, but I couldn't see that. So it's kind of some double standards here. I wonder if Gordon played just because of that fact, like I said, being a bit jaded, a bit miffed with the transfer situation. It's kind of just it's not as clear as it once was for Gordon. But hopefully it's just a few weeks training. Just needs that first goal, right?
Aye, that's it. I think. I mean, he could have quite easily scored, couldn't he? It was pulled back for a foul against Bruno, wasn't it, when he was fouled himself, and Gordon was through. So, he probably puts that away, and his confidence is up again. And it's a funny one. I think you're probably right in terms of how he's probably thought. I could play Barnes. He's been in for the whole of pre-season, and Dean mentioned in the group this morning that he's probably quite frustrated as well that he's been in for the whole of the pre-season, and now he's found himself out to Gordon, who hasn't been playing. So there might be that frustration there, but I think from my point of view, it was maybe how saying, "Look, I support you, I back you, and I'm going to play you."
Yeah, for sure. A few funny things out the back of the game regarding Jacob Murphy. Obviously, I don't know if you've seen the kind of the match cam footage, but Callum Wilson thanking him for his cameo appearance, hilarious. And then I don't know if you've seen Murphy's post, and he posted a picture of him warming up, saying there wasn't much match day footage of me. He has a picture of his warming up,
It's a shame for him, wasn't it? Because he started this pre-season really well, hasn't he? And I think he deserved his start. So for him to get pulled off quite early, but a bit of a shame for him, but.
Just the right mentality, though, right? It's kind of, he's not knocked, he's not frustrated or anything. He's kind of given himself for the team there. Recognises that he's the position that he is and the standing that he is, and sometimes you've just got to take that on the chin.
Definitely, it's a first class attitude, isn't it? He's a proper team player, and I think he's like all of us, really, isn't he? Where he's one of us, and he's got this opportunity to play for his club, and he's taking it with both hands and getting what he can out of it.
Yeah. Just before we jump into some individual performances, Ollie, I just want to take your temperature on what it was like in the ground before the sending off and after the sending off. Obviously, on the telly, it was a remarkable change, but just talk to us about the atmosphere. Kind of, was everybody wearing the new home strip, the away strip? Like, what was it like, and did you see the ramp up after the sending off?
There was loads of strips knocking about, as there always is, new and old, and that probably. Quite a lot of people had the new ones on, especially my dad and my son all turned up with the same kit on, the new away kit. Not deliberately, but that's how it is. I think the atmosphere started, it was all right to begin with, but then it sort of got a bit flat. The game felt a little bit funny. We weren't getting a foothold in the game, like you said. Southampton were playing some really good stuff as well, passing the ball about really well. But then after the red card, it was a different case altogether. It was everyone getting behind the team, everyone getting behind what we were doing, and I think that really turned the game. I think the game needed that. I think it was a very flat game as well, and the game changed, and we sort of really stood up to be counted.
Yeah, an angry St James's Park is a powerful force, isn't it? And I think it just lent to some performances as well, mate. So let's jump into that. First of all, Joelinton, like what a man mountain that guy is. And what's encouraging from that is, a fresh Joelinton's a scary thought for me. What did you think, make of his performance?
Class from start to finish, really. I mean, taking the goal away from him, just everything he did was. He's just a monster, isn't he? He's just absolute beast. like I keep saying this, but we had a throw-in and he was just there. You know, he just appears and takes the throw-ins. Well, takes control of the throw-ins, you know, and he's just he was everywhere. He covered every blade of grass. He was magnificent, really. Like,
yeah, there was a moment in the game in the first half where the ball broke and Ben Brereton was running with it, and I think he was clear of Joelinton by about 40 yards, and he wasn't having it, like, and he just put his head down, caught up to him, and just took the ball off him with ease. And making up 40 yards is a hard task, right? Like, but he looks effortless when he's in that mood, and that, yeah, absolutely love to see it.
He ran past Gordon as well, so I think that says a lot, doesn't it?
That's a funny thing, actually. So you mentioned that he ran past Gordon. I don't want to say Gordon gave up, but he didn't kind of put his head down and graft to get back, you know.
No.
And Joelinton kind of burst past them all to get the ball, which was phenomenal. It just makes you think back to that whole contract situation. Like, the thought of losing him is a scary thought, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We haven't been the same team at all since January, really. He's having him back and looking fit and strong and hopefully staying fit is going to be huge for our season, I think.
Yeah, he's one of those leaders by default, isn't he? Doesn't need the captain's armband. He kind of leads by example.
I don't know if you can tell.
Definitely.
Like, I lost my voice a little bit at the match. And the longer this podcast's going on, the worse it's getting.
We can still hear you.
And spoil it.
Another individual performance which I thought was worth mentioning was Dan Burn. Everything that came his way, he just got rid of, dealt with. Another real leader within that team who at the moment is pivotal for us. Like, what I want to put a stop to is people saying, kind of prefacing Dan Burn by saying, his shortcomings are this, but Dan Burn's Dan Burn. He's going to give 110% every single game, and no so more than the weekend. Like, he was phenomenal.
He was absolutely superb. I mean, he was probably my man of the match. He just picked Joelinton. He just defined everything about the whole performance for me. It was absolutely brilliant. Like you said, he headed everything away. He was class. He was working hard. His little, the passion at half time as well got to him a little bit, didn't he? He got a bit carried away in the tunnel. And that's just who he is, and he's just brilliant. I think you're right in terms of people are saying he's got these shortcomings, and of course he has, but who hasn't? And I think for us, he's that perfect. I don't think there's anyone you could really you could put in there that would do a better job than him, or that would give more of an effort than he does. But he's been brilliant for a long time now, really, whether he's playing left back or centre half.
Yeah, he just encapsulates everything you want as a Geordie watching a player on the pitch playing for your team. He captures that perfectly for me, and you can kind of hang your hat on him to empty himself. And just a note on kind of the captaincy, and it's one of those that gets blown out of proportion, right? Captaincy, I don't think it's that big of a deal in elite sport. It's kind of just it doesn't matter massively. People can be captains without having the armband, but I'd imagine there was no pushback from Dan Burn when it was mentioned that Bruno was going to be the captain on this one, which again just kind of shows his class. He's coming and being the captain behind Trippier when Jamal Lascelles has been out. So yeah, just the guy just oozes class, and long may it continue.
It's really nice to see him getting, because he did get a bit of stick last season, didn't he? And it's really nice to see him getting those plaudits after yesterday. So long may that continue.
Another one on Dan Burn. It seemed like Southampton had about 300 corners yesterday, and every single time that they were put one in the box, kind of just knew that we were going to get rid of it. There was no chance Southampton were ever going to score from a corner, and they even changed tact towards the end of the game. They would start taking short corners, recognising that kind of the defensive wall that was there was just impenetrable. Great performance from Dan Burn. Let's give him the strawberry corner man of the match, mate.
Hi.
Another one who gets a lot of criticism, but, emptied himself in the game, covered every blade of grass, and also put in that hearty challenge on Ben Brereton was Sean Longstaff.
Again, another performance where I think on the ball he didn't do a massive amount of, it wasn't outstanding what he was doing on the ball, but off the ball he was just incredible. He's another one who he covers the whole pitch, doesn't he? And he's outstanding work ethic. I think he brings the best out in other people as well. He's always available for the ball as well, and he just gets through so much work. I just think it was a great performance, and that tackle as well on Díaz, it just sort of pretty much epitomised his whole performance. Sorry, we throw it down.
That's all right. So Longstaff's one of those where he kind of comes into his own, doesn't he? When we're down to 10 men, he's able to show his skill set. Then comes into play. He's kind of runs like he's got 4 sets of lungs. But yeah, good to see. Obviously, we've got Olly on the sidelines ready to come back in. But if Sean Longstaff has this bit of pressure on, he does tend to perform. He does tend to step his levels up again. I think this competition is just going to lend itself well for him.
Definitely, I think it's a very different Newcastle these days as well. I think, there was days when I'm thinking, under Alan Pardew and stuff like that, where Tiote would be out for a couple of games, Guthrie would come in and play really well. He'd be outstanding, and then Tiote would be back in straight away as soon as he was fit. And I think nowadays it's very different. You earn your place in the side, and I think Howe's been great with that. If you're playing well, you're going to be in the side. So I'd like to see him continue his form and do as well as he can. And I think he will play a lot of games this season. We're not always going to have Joelinton, Bruno and Tonali fit. We're going to have injuries. We're going to have suspensions probably, I'd imagine, especially with Bruno, the amount of yellow cards he picks up, and Joelinton as well. He's going to play a lot of games this season, so a good, positive Sean Longstaff looking fit as well is going to be really important for this season.
And just a note on Nick Pope, nothing outstanding, but fantastic to see him in the post. He brings that confidence to the defence, and there was a couple of times in that game he kind of just showed that class and what we were missing last season. Obviously, he had that save for the Armstrong efforts, and I think just generally his aura and his style of play, just taking the sting out of the game when he's received the ball and going down just for that 10 seconds just to relieve some pressure. He's just a different level to Dubravka, unfortunately, and it's good to see him back between the sticks, yeah.
Massively, he's another one who he just makes such a difference to the squad when he's playing. It's having him and Joelinton out last season was probably the worst thing that could have happened to us. I think even maybe not having Bruno in the midfield, for example, might have been having less of a negative impact on the team than Joelinton and Pope missing. The defence trust him. They know he's going to come and sweep. They know he's going to be there. They know he's going to come out for the ball and command the area. He does it so well. I think he's worked as well on his kicking by the looks of things. His kicking was much better. I know you mentioned before we started the recording that he sort of seems to have a bit of a different technique as well, doesn't he, in terms of how he's kicking the ball out from his hands. Just looks much better, looks much more confident, and he's keeping the ball on the pitch as well, which is half the battle. So real positives having Pope back again, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Just moving on a little bit, Ollie. Obviously, how after the game, you kind of touched on the fact that it wasn't a great performance, but a fantastic defensive display, which was good. Take your positives from that. He also mentioned kind of in terms of acquisitions and signings. He was kind of asked, is there anything likely to happen in the next few weeks? Obviously, with the transfer window closing soon. He's saying kind of, could we do something in the market? Possibly, but the conditions have to be right for us. He said all along, we can't do something that goes against the long-term good of the football club. So this is kind of in direct question to Gehi, right? It sounds like to me Howe's got a bit of a ceiling on this one. If Palace are going to keep pushing and pushing, perhaps 70 million, let's just throw that figure out there, 70 million, it's just a bit too much.
It might prove to be too much, yeah. Hopefully we can get it sorted for. I think we still will get it sorted for less than that. You know, I said if last week at 55 to 60 million will probably be enough to get him, plus the add-ons as well. I think, you know, we've been linked with Gomez this morning as well, haven't we? And I think maybe that's a little bit of just gamesmanship, really, or brinkmanship, in terms of just trying to force their hand. And you know, we've got other options. We can go elsewhere. So hopefully that will sort of force the hand. I'm led to believe as well that Mitchell and Gomez are in talks at the minute. So you know, that sounds positive, sounds optimistic. They're obviously trying to make it happen. I think what hasn't helped is how much Crystal Palace have released, really. I think it's quite clear that it's them that's done it and not Newcastle. It's come from them. You know, there's talk today as well that there hasn't even been 4 bids, that they haven't rejected our 4th bid, well, the last bid. So, I mean, none of us know what's going on, really, do we? But it sounds very much like Palace are sort of playing games, and now hopefully we're starting to play a few games as well to try and get that transfer fee down a little bit. His performance today for Palace was probably going to take 5 million off as well. So, yeah, let's see what happens. You know, there's other defenders out there, so if it doesn't happen, we'll move on.
That's it, mate. I think Palace are playing a dangerous game here. And I think the nature of the information that's been leaked out, it's not great because, you know, you get the fans on social media especially that just take it all for granted. You know, this has been the process. These are the bids that have been rejected. Why aren't Newcastle doing this? It's just a load. It's just a vacuum of shit, isn't it? Like, I hate it. But yeah, like you say.
And normally I'll just, the same as Dean said a couple of weeks ago, until they're standing there with a flag, scarf above their head or the top on or whatever, with the East stand in the background, then, you know, I don't really think too much about it. But I do think Palace have got to be very careful. I think what's probably happened is they've tried to start a bit of a bidding war. And what they've realised now is that it's only us who are there and really interested and willing to pay. And they need to be really aware of the fact that, you know, there's only 2 more opportunities after this window to get rid of him for money, isn't there? And so unless they're going to offer him a new contract he's going to accept, which I'd probably say was unlikely, they're going to have to, if they want big money, they're going to have to shift him quite soon.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But just something that you said there, I'm always of the opinion that there's another player out there. You know, you don't kind of hang your hopes on one player. There's other centre halves out there. I mean, I did watch the Milan highlights, and Thiago doesn't look like the centre half for us, mates. That's for certain.
There's got a ream of like criticism from AC Milan fans on social media and stuff now, isn't there? Saying please sell him and he's hopeless. But
an odd game, that one. Torino, just to quickly mention, this isn't Newcastle, but Torino went 2-0 up in that game. And one of the goals, Thiago kind of controlled the ball and then took it over his own line. Very, very, very strange. But yeah, let's move on from him. I do like Joe Gomez. He has had kind of injury issues, but has also been in that England team and looked really good. So yeah, let's wait and see on that one, mate. Next game, we've got Bournemouth away on Sunday. I believe you're going down there, yeah?
I am. I should be canny. Long way. Let's hope we get the result, because it's going to be an even longer way back if we don't.
You're driving down with the bin?
Driving down, aye.
But
yeah, I mean, obviously we'll do a podcast about the Bournemouth game, but it's one of those where they haven't had a great result this weekend either, have they? So let's see what we can do. You know, there's no reason why we can't go down there and come back with 3 points.
Yeah, I think we're all than one, right?
Definitely, aye.
Yeah. All right, mate. I think we'll leave that one there, and obviously we'll regroup in the middle of the week to talk about Bournemouth in a bit more depth. If you want to catch us, you can get us on X at strawberry_NUFC. Same handle on Instagram at strawberry_NUFC, which is Threads as well at strawberry_NUFC. We've kept it really aligned there, so that's good for yous. And Bluesky, Olly, what it was?
Bluesky is at Strawberry NUFC. There's no underscore for it on Bluesky.
Spot on. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Ta-ra.